Make that a right. Okay, thank you. All right, it is 7:06. We are going to call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Education and invite everyone to join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic of which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. All right. I do not think we need to make any changes to our agenda tonight, so I'm just looking for a motion to approve the agenda. So moved. Thank you, Meg. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Annie. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Approval of consent agenda. Tonight, the consent agenda includes a few items. It's approval of our December 9th special meeting minutes, approval of the December 16th retreat meeting minutes, approval of the Connecticut Museum of Culture and History bus reimbursement to Gildersleeve in the amount of $600, approval of a Shutterfly donation to Valley View School in the amount of $550.68, approval of a Shutterfly donation to Gildersleeve School in the amount of $627.96, and approval of a Planet Aid donation to Brownstone School in the amount of $39.75. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved. Thank you, Meg. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Kim. Is there any discussion on any of those items?
Just wondering about the bus reimbursement.
Yeah, so this, I mean, I can speak to this because my kid went on this field trip last year. It's, there's a program, a Connecticut state program that funds civics, provides some funding for civics related field trips to a couple of museums in the state, and the Connecticut Museum of Culture and History is one of those programs. Last year it was a fourth grade class that went on the trip. I think it is likely that same group, but I don't know for sure. But it was a fantastic field trip last year. I was lucky to attend as a chaperone with my fifth grader. Really fun. Yeah, thank you. Any other questions? No. All right. Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Audience of citizens. Do we have anyone with us in person or online who wishes to address the board at this point?
Message is just sent, so it's just gonna.
We'll give it a second. It's fine. And there's a second opportunity at the end of our agenda for any public comment as well.
You're good.
All right, and we'll keep moving. Our next item is our Portland Public Schools Spotlight, which is always the best part of our Board of Ed meetings, and we're excited to welcome middle school principal Mike Stearson to introduce the Middle School Student Council.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for having us. For the spotlight tonight, Portland Middle School is highlighting our student council. And what I've realized is that a middle school student council can be a variety of things. Totally depends on the group of people that make it up, namely the staff members that are advising them. And most importantly, no offense to Kim or Caroline, it's the students, right? It's where the students want to go with it. It's what they want to accomplish. It's what they want to create. It's how high they want to kind of set the bar for themselves and future student councils to kind of reach for. I love the fact that this group has set this bar so high. So much so where me asking them, hey guys, can you help me with these monthly assemblies, quickly turned into them just taking over the monthly assemblies, to the point where at our last assembly, I started walking up to say something at the end. And one of these wonderful eighth graders very smoothly just stepped right in and effortlessly took over far better than I could have. And I had two thoughts in that moment. My first thought was, this is not my show anymore. And I mean that in the best possible way, because that takes some serious confidence that I don't think I had when I was a middle schooler. The second thought I had was, I am so incredibly proud, not just of these four officers that are going to introduce themselves to you shortly, but of our staff advisors, Kim Baldwin, Caroline Kennedy, and the other 28 to 30 students, 7th and 8th graders, who not only represent our student council, they don't just meet every week to say that they met, they walk away from those meetings with so many creative, realistic ideas that push our climate and culture, and just goes far above and beyond what I hoped a middle school student council was capable of. So just like our last assembly, this is not my show. I'm going to hand it off to these 4 students.
Good evening, good night. Hello, my name is Mace Kendricks. I'm the president of the student council, and I will start off by saying what the student council means to me. Student council has shaped me as an individual. It's made me a better leader and gave me a chance to display my skill of leadership. It's given me a skill and a chance to show every day and outstand and show everybody who I actually am. It gives me a chance to connect with my peers and lead and understand the things that they want. Couple of things that we've done as a unit together as the student council is we have successfully completed our first pep rally of the year with containing and keeping 200 students in one gym room and to keep them calm and focus on the activities and announcements that we had. Another thing that we have done is successfully raise money for Spirit Weeks. I'm pretty sure our first Spirit Week for breast cancer, we raised almost $200, which was a very good marking, especially for our first one of the year. We made a school system that encourages our students, such as tartan passes. We have almost kind of transferred it from honors to high honors, so kids want to go actually strive even higher and not settle for less. We have recently had our advisory Olympics, which is a whole bunch of kids having an Olympics battle and three advisories that come on top at our Olympics winners. And that's the 3 things that we've done and our accomplishments this year. Thank you.
All right. Hi, I'm Jude Marifus. I'm the treasurer, and a way student council has helped me is I've been making better decisions and learned to be a leader in this grade and in this school. I'm here to talk about our future goals. So one of them is Student Night Out, which is on February 20th. So we're gonna plan games, food, and other things for after school. And it's a fun opportunity for like all students to hang out with their friends and outside of class time. We're doing a leadership conference for the student council in New Haven, where we're all gonna go and learn a lot of things to be better leaders. And we're focusing on having more spirit weeks and fundraisers to help out a lot of people. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Avery Berard, and I'm the Secretary of Student Council. I'm going to talk about the best parts of working with the other officers. So one thing that we can all agree on is that we love to work together. It's also helped us develop better leadership skills. We enjoy working with the leaders, but also working with the other members of Student Council to put together fun and enjoyable activities for the whole school. We also enjoy building school spirit and putting together and leading the school in fun activities. We can show that the Student Council worked hard to put together these activities and that our peers actually enjoy these activities. Lastly, we really enjoy helping the community. Like we said, we have raised money and we also have raised supplies for other places in the town. And together we have helped like the school come together because the students and staff are working together to like raise all the supplies. Thank you.
Hi, I'm CD Campbell, and I'm the Vice President of Student Council. And I'm going to talk about how this has impacted us when we think about going in high school next year. Throughout this year, the 4 of us have truly enjoyed playing such an important role in our school community. We have spent a large portion of our free time brainstorming and then going on to plan fun events for the student body this year. Almost every weekend, we work together to create an agenda for the rest of Student Council to follow, as well as going over our progress from last week. And it really doesn't feel like work. We enjoy doing it and having this leadership status. All of this has inspired us to continue being involved in our school community going into high school. We have already spoken of our hopes to run for office and student senate next year and can't wait to work on our campaigns. This is something that might not have been on our agendas if we hadn't been a part of student council this year. After all, the only officer who was in student council both last year and this year was Mace. The other 3 of us just tried it out for the first time this year. meaning it probably would have been a lot harder to try it for the first time next year as freshmen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Caroline Kennedy. I'm the 8th grade English teacher. I'm also one of the advisors for Student Council, and Kim Baldwin's our co-advisor as well. I just want to kind of say that these kids are so incredible. And it's not just these 4, it's all 28 to 30 kids that are in this group. They're just so dedicated. They're so engaged. They just really love this school so much. It just kind of means a lot to me to see so much school spirit just kind of show up in these school advisory activities and after school events. I'm just so proud of the hard work that they've kind of done so far this year, but I'm looking forward to see what else comes through this year and for following years as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions from board members?
Did you guys have something you want?
Oh, is there, I'm sorry, there's a video behind me. Didn't even realize.
If I'm not mistaken, that's our very first pep rally.
Oh, that's okay.
We did a lot of announcing on that one, not too many games. People didn't really like that. So then that's when we came up with the ideas. That's our advisory Olympics and the CAF. We had some, that's Whitney and student council members too. Is that all? I believe that's the cup toss game. I sucked at that one personally. That's our group of student council. In my opinion, the group has grown since last year. It's very enlightening to see after the election so many still stayed. But I give high praise for that, Phil. That's us for leading the student council. On the board, we normally make agendas every week to almost give the student council of what we're gonna do, how we're gonna do it, and what's the next thing that we're coming up with to almost set the idea and expectations of what's gonna happen in each section. Is that all? All right, thank you.
so much.
I did have a question, and I know middle school can be kind of cliquey. And it looks like you're reaching out and you're looking for kids who maybe are not involved in the student council, the 30 members that you have. But do you ever do like lunch mix-ups? I know there were recommendations for middle school kids to sit with somebody else during lunch that may not be part of the student council or part of an athletic team or other club group. Do you find yourselves reaching out to try to find those voices or kids who are not necessarily engaged? Because I think you guys are great role models. You're well-spoken and communicate all of the ideals that we would hope a student council member would have. But I'm hoping that we can, find the corners where the kids may be not as engaged.
Yeah, eventually I do. I have a lot of friends.
Please come on up to the microphone. Thank you.
Sorry.
That way people at home can hear you too.
All right. Eventually I do. I have a lot of friends because I find it convenient. It's on a Tuesday because I feel like most odds we're not doing sports every single day. The odds of you doing something on a Tuesday is kind of slim. So it's very convenient for it to be on a Tuesday. So I kind of throw that out there to have people reach out, come by. I had a couple of friends come by last time because of the basketball game. I know some people wanted to stay over and didn't want to quite go home. So I use it to my advantage, bring a couple of friends over just to show them what it was about. And it was a good time. We got a lot done on that day too. We completed, I believe, a food drive where it was all done and we all brought back up and hung up posters for our next Spirit Week that day. And basically talked about, did a lot of budgeting for our student night out. And we got a lot of success on that day. So any more questions?
Appreciate that. Can't
Thank
wait to
you.
see what we can do next year.
Is that all for questions? Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming in. You are more than welcome to stay for the rest of our meeting, but if you have other things to do this evening, you are also more than welcome to head out. Leave that up to you. But thank you for being here.
Thank you. Love to see him come back and do a report when we do our student reports. Perhaps. Forward, just on the basis.
Yeah. We are gonna move on to our next agenda item as folks are exiting. We're gonna turn to our student representatives for their report.
So on December 22nd, our a cappella group and our jazz band traveled throughout Portland schools and to the town hall, entertaining everyone with holiday music. We did a sort of mini concert in each of the schools, so the younger kids in particular always love it. They were all dressed up for holiday spirit. It was great to see them so excited. The musical rehearsals are in full swing, and we are excited about the progress so far. Our a cappella group, as well as jazz band and our wind ensemble, are now preparing for our winter chamber concert in February. In sports news, our sports programs are doing great this year, which is always amazing to hear. Our girls basketball team is home tonight, right now, against Coggins, and the boys are home on Friday. Indoor track is competing at Hill House this Wednesday, and wrestling has some Saturday matches throughout the month. Particularly later, they also have some farther away tournaments, which I know are always hard to get to, but they're still very entertaining. Speaking of teams, we'd also like to acknowledge our small but mighty math league team, who are competing at Daniel Han High School this Thursday.
Nice.
Yeah, the last day before break, the Student Senate held their annual winter pep rally. It was full of traditional events like unified staff basketball game and the pie eating contest, which the juniors ended up winning. And now hold the title belt and some events like the Whitney Houston Drum Challenge. The Student Senate is currently working on preparing for Miss Lawson and Mr. Santavenier's plan combined school and sixth grade pep rally. The Black and Latino Studies class, along with AP Art and the Art Club, took a field trip today to the Yale Art Gallery. Before I get into my last item, I've got a bit of old news from the last meeting, which we were not able to convey, but the Shatter Night, as we spoke to you all about, went really well, and everybody had a good time with that. And parent-teacher conferences, they happened as well 8 weeks ago, I want to say. Yep. So I believe they all went very well. Lastly, I was instructed to tell you about the Cask Legislative Day in Hartford, a program to help teach students about legislative branch. This program starts with students submitting ideas for legislation over the summer. Then students are invited to the Capitol up in Hartford, where they are assigned a party, a bill, and a position on the bill. Then, with the help of legislators and a few policy lawyers, are instructed on how to best argue in favor or against their bill. And then I was offered the opportunity to go up and represent Portland, and it seems to be something we're going to continue doing next year, and we're going to hopefully have more representation.
Wait, it's happened already or it's about to happen?
Yeah, it happened the 18th, I want to say.
Okay, so tell us about your experience. How did it go? What was your bill? What did you debate? Which side were you on?
Yeah, so I was in the minority party. I was representing the opposition to a bill regarding the voting age. So my bill, basically, it boiled down to in local and state elections, allowing, I believe the number was 17-year-olds turning 18 in that year to vote. No, it was ridiculous. It was 16-year-olds. It was like 16-year-olds.
The proposed bill was to allow 16-year-olds to vote, and you were arguing opposition.
I was arguing opposition.
Okay.
We ended up coming to the table with them, and we used our party's one amendment to adjust it. The language allowing only for local rather than state.
Okay.
Which
It's an interesting compromise.
I was the only no vote, but the correct may have been a bit biased.
That's really cool. That sounds like a really
And then
neat
it was
experience.
actually in the legislative chamber
It was.
at Harvard,
Yeah,
so it was
cool.
a pretty cool experience.
That's awesome. Oh, I'm so excited for you that you got to participate in that. So I'm curious how you heard about it. Like, did you have to be nominated for the opportunity? How do we get more kids connected to this in the future?
Over the summer, Ms. Stotler, when we were having our open house, she brought it up to me and we talked about it. And then she talked to the guy who ran it and basically just to get Portland's foot in the door.
Yeah.
And next year we should hopefully be able to send out more.
So
And do you get a pre-notice of what the bills could be, or do you get to pick and choose, or?
So what happens is Cask, the organization that runs it, I don't know if any of you are familiar, but they're basically association of student councils.
Yeah.
Across, seems to be the common theme tonight.
Mhm.
Across Connecticut, and they basically get a bunch of submissions for legislation. They end up going through vetting it. They have people actually in policy go through and write up some language. And then they send it out and you have to take a look through them on your own time.
Yep.
Then, yeah,
Do the research and then be ready, prepared to
Yeah.
support or. defend.
well, there were a few struggles in getting me registered,
Mhm.
but most others would have had a meeting beforehand, which would have informed them of their position.
Okay, so you got kind of thrown into it.
Yeah.
Sounds like you rolled with the punches really well.
Yeah.
That's really neat. How many students were there from across the state?
I believe the number was 80. It was supposed to be more, but at the time, Waterbury.
Gotcha, they were having their
They were having
water
water
issues.
issues.
Yeah.
So-
That's really neat, Liam. I'm so thrilled you got to do that. I hope you get the chance to do it next year.
I'm definitely going to try.
That's great. Cool, thanks for telling us about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you have anything else for us?
That's all.
Did you have any board members, any questions for Liam or Anna?
No, you always do a great job on reporting and it's not just sports scores and dances and pep rallies. It's really, really meaty reporting. So thank you both.
Excellent, thank you. All right, we'll move on to communications and updates, and Dr. Britton's up first.
Okay. Welcome back, everybody. It's nice to see you all, although I've been seeing a lot of you lately. It's a very busy time of year. So I have your budgets. They're over here. I'll hand them out to you when you guys are on your way out. As you know, we met the 16th. So we had our retreat and we talked a little bit about this. And since the 16th, we covered a lot of ground. I met with all of the principals, all of the department chairs. Stephanie is amazing. It's a ton of work for Stephanie. I hope people realize how lucky we are to have her. But putting everything together, right? So it did have one little curveball come at us with health insurance. We're going to be talking a little bit about that. But I still got us to, I think, the place where I had you comfortable on the 16th. Wasn't easy, but we're there. So here's for our new board members. The process is the budget you're going to get from me tonight is the superintendent's proposed budget. This is my budget, right? It reflects, where I think we need to go. You should take it with you, read it. Next Tuesday, we'll have our first workshop. I have a lot of ground to cover with you. I'll go over this in detail, right? And then we have a second workshop on Thursday. Likely we'll need it. In the past, we have canceled it a couple times, but I don't think we will this time. I think we got a lot to go over. After that workshop, the very next week is our regular board meeting. At that meeting, I'm hoping that you'll take action, right? You can accept my budget as it is. You can add to it. You can take away from it. You can rip it up and write your own, right? But what you take action on is your budget, the budget you're comfortable with. As soon as you do that, it's no longer the superintendent's budget. It's the Board of Education budget. I will, of course, represent it, advocate for it, be your mouthpiece and present it and do everything that we need to do, because from there it goes to the first selectman and then the Board of Selectmen. So what you see tonight are my proposals. They're grounded in some fiscal realities that we're confronting, some headwinds, but there are some really cool opportunities in here too for transition programs, some additional revenue streams, some possibilities for tuition students if we do things right, that I'm really looking forward to talking to you about next Tuesday. So grab the book on the way out, and then between now and then, what I found is very helpful is if you email me, and when I respond to you, I'll respond to everybody with any questions, right? And that will kind of help frame my thinking about what your wonderings are. So if you start asking me questions by email before next Tuesday, I will give you answers and then reply all so that I can answer those questions for the group. Otherwise, feel free to bring your questions Tuesday night, and all the administrators and I will be here to go through it with you. Sound good? Any questions?
And just a real quick question, in the budget, are there any things that included in what we're gonna get, are there any things that are not included in the budget that are a wish list that would be either add-ons or takeaways? And that would be helpful to know. I know sometimes we do put aside some things and say we can't do this and this and this if we do this, but are there those options, or can you
Yeah,
provide us with that?
sure.
With that
So
wish list, I guess, is one, yeah.
yes, so part of my presentation, I'm committed to being as, in some cases, I think if you're gonna fault me, it's for that I'm overly transparent.
You are.
right? I mean, I'm gonna show you everything,
Fault you.
right?
No, you are.
So what happened was when I meet with the administrative team, Stephanie and I say, bring me everything you want, right? Bring me everything, including new positions, new programs, new resources, bring me everything. And that's really important because I'm looking at those going, oh, that might make a great Ryan fund. That might make a good Gildersleeve grant. That might make something good if we have any end of year surplus funds, right? I want to know where people's, thinking are in terms of extracurricular, co-curricular, academic positions. Those all come to me. I don't put a lot of guardrails on the first round. Once I get all of those, Stephanie and I put them all together and then are calling together other things like health insurance increases, outplacements, and prioritize it. You'll hear me say that, hey, if we incorporated into the superintendent's budget everything everybody wanted, it would be a 12% increase, right? Also, clearly, I'm not going to bring you a 12% increase. I'm a realist, right? Like I understand that that's not a, with our enrollment being what it is, it's not reasonable, right? So from there, I cut. Like Stephanie and I say, no, you're not having those things. I'm not adding those positions. But what I will provide you is a document that shows you everything I cut to get to the place with this budget. I'll also show you that, hey, those things we cut, like a new math program, I'm recommending is a great Gildersleeve grant. Or I took $50,000 out of facilities. Here's how we're gonna pay for that if we have end of year surplus funds, which Stephanie has some really good news to share with you tonight. So you'll see it all. You'll see everything that was asked for and I said no to. At that point, if you want to add it back in, you can. This is your budget. You're taking what my recommendation is and then adding to it. And you've done that in the past.
Yeah.
And or you can take a look at my recommendations and say, cut deeper. That's part of the process, but you'll see everything. And the principals will be here too. And it's really important for them to see I'm showing you everything they want, because they want that too. Like they want to know that you're aware of those things. And it's also important for the whole community to see that we cut, like we make hard decisions so that when we're putting the budget together, it reflects an honest appraisal of what our absolute needs are. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, no, it did. And for the benefit of new members as well, that, just a reminder that people, it's what we need, what we want, and then what we're gonna get. So it's kind of that, and I appreciate that. So thank you. Yeah. No, and you're not overly transparent. The thing is that you are transparent, and we know there are no hidden things. And for all the years that we've done this, it's always a good budget.
I just wanted to back up briefly to your request for, as folks are going through the budgets this week, definitely if you do have questions in the moment, feel free to send that list to Charles. As Charles said, he will CC everybody so that with the answers, so we all have the same information coming into our discussion next Tuesday. Please just be careful for board members, not to then hit a reply all and unintentionally create a conversation. So we're just receiving information, receiving the answers to questions. Any discussion about that information will happen in public at our meeting on Tuesday.
If a new question comes up, that's a new email with just a new
A
question.
new email with fresh questions.
So
Yep.
reply with a
Yeah,
new question.
thank you. Yep. Any other questions now about the budget process or what we can expect next week?
You said it, but when you said administration, so principals here, what is the team that's also here?
So all the principals, Bob will be here, Chuck will be here, Sarah will be here. That way, because what I do is I'll go building by building. Like I'll start with Valley View. Here's what's in the budget for Valley View. Do you have any questions about that? And then it's important that Ryan will be right here too, to help if I you catch me with one off guard.
Mhm.
But-
Yeah. Yep. Great.
All right, awesome.
Thank you. We look forward to that next Tuesday.
Okay, a few other ones then. I have the enrollment report here for you. This will be a very important focus of our conversation next Tuesday. Clearly, our enrollment report reflects those teachers that we need to teach the children that we have. So you will see what I'll do for you. It's actually in the budget book, is I take all of these enrollment forward. Right? I just assume not much change. So in your budget book, what you'll see is we're projecting in first grade, 80 students. Why? Because we have 80 kindergartners. You'll see in second grade, we're projecting 96 students. Why? Because we have 96 first graders. So you'll see this enrollment report shifted forward. The only hole will be, of course, kindergarten, which we won't know. And then, of course, the other big change we see enrollment is often from 8th to 9th grade as students are choosing parochial, magnet, or other schools of choice. Any questions about the enrollment?
Just an overall comment, while I was wait for next week's budget, is that, and I brought this up before, is that we continuing, and it's funny, I've seen some posts on Facebook of other school districts having the same questions about the declining enrollment. We're down another 2%
Mhm.
enrollment, but yet our budget will probably go up single digits. I know driving factors for that, but it went down the year prior, I believe, a small quantity. So we're continuing to see declining enrollment. Is there at some point, do we need to do some kind of a fundamental shift? We can't keep maintaining what we've always had when we don't have that number of students anymore.
So that's a really hard question to answer, right? I mean, to me, I think that right there makes the most compelling case you could make for a school consolidation. Let's start there, right?
That's
Like
true.
the most fundamental shift we could make would be to move sixth grade to the middle school and decommission a school, because it's really hard to divide people in half, right?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you either have it or you don't, right? And you might have it with class sizes of 8 or have it with class sizes of 20, but you can't not have it. Right? So and it depends, right? It's just a difficult thing to answer, but this, and again, like the one we'll talk about next week is look what's going to happen at Brownstone next year, right? Look at what is coming to Brownstone, what's there now in 5th grade and what's coming in 4th grade, right? You see, Brownstone's a pipsqueak of a school. It's never been smaller than it's going to be last year. There's a bubble, right? But what does that mean? We can reduce a principal? No.
No.
Can we reduce a secretary? No. Can we reduce custodians? Those people are still needed. Can we reduce a teacher? Yes. And that you'll see that in my budget, right? So where we can reduce based on enrollment, we do. But, also then, does that mean we could take a teacher and make them 0.8 or 0.6? Probably. But what do you do then? Like oftentimes that means that person is going to go look for another job just to in the next year have to put them back to full time, right? So it's such a hard question to answer. It's such a complicated question, but the real answer is consolidate schools.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. All right. So let me push on a few other ones. We thought we didn't have a retirement, but we did. He made a mistake in emails.
I received the email and just assumed I was CC'd on an email to Dr. Britton and didn't realize that it just came to me. So I apologize for not having forwarded that
No
along.
problem.
I just assumed that Charles was on that email.
And I'm glad we caught up with it. And congratulations, Isha Murphy.
It was
Yeah,
very.
I know.
Yeah.
I was very,
Yeah, well.
So I'm glad we caught up with it. I'm looking forward to celebrating a great run with Isha. He's going to be missed, but we'll celebrate all spring. And I'm glad that I have someone to celebrate. I like that, talking about them and going through their file and all those things.
I know he's really gonna be missed.
Me too. And he's such a great person. And he's given so much. So
But he's done with the
cross country and track and it's phenomenal. He's an incredible.
It's gonna leave a big hole.
Yep. So let's congratulate Isha and look forward to celebrating with him this spring. Did have two resignations, a paraprofessional named Alessandra Boutin and our Spanish teacher at the high school, very disappointing to see her go, Carmen Winter, offered their resignations. As a reminder, I will offer both of those individuals exit interviews and I will share those results with the personnel committee. So wish Alexandra and Carmen success in the future. Include one other thing. I thought this was really cool. I'm not sure if you got to see this, but as you know, we're teaching a new course at the high school this year. That's data science course. Our teachers are Crystal Larson and Don Brecklin. They were featured in this. They presented at a conference. So I thought you would like to see that. That's really cool. I know how excited they are about this course and what a great application of statistics and talk about more valuable than maybe trigonometry or something. Like I think trigonometry is great, but
I love trigonometry.
I did too. I like trigonometry. And I
But
like
this
Greek
does
life,
sound
but
really exciting.
This does sound really exciting. So congratulations, Krista and Don. I think that they represented us well, and I know that they're doing well with this course. So I thought I would share that.
And new board members, if you didn't catch this, this is a brand new course that's being offered this year that went through the relatively new process of being vetted by the curriculum subcommittee and then coming to the board approval, which was, but anyways, it's exciting to see that it's been so successful.
So congratulations to them. Also in your packet, you found a letter from Kimberly Neerman. She offered her support for us relocating our transition program to an offsite Main Street location. That is included in your budget. It will be a subject of discussion next week. By doing so, there's some really cool opportunities we have that could open additional revenue streams too. So for a lot of reasons, this is an exciting opportunity. Look forward to exploring it, discussing it with you next week. Okay. I'll end with one more really quick one. Good news. I heard back from the architects, Bryce and Mike. They have the conceptual order of budget from Downs. What they're doing now is Downs Construction and Fryer. They both develop budgets independently. They now are meeting this week to compare notes, right? And see if how close they were, otherwise get a consensus budget. So I've scheduled up the task force I sent it out tonight. I'm sure if Kim and Dave, if you had a chance to see it yet, I'm hoping that Wednesday, December 21st is when we can meet and John to take a look at those.
January
21st, excuse me. I would have done it next week, but budget workshop, contract negotiations, it's very busy time of year. So that was the first available date, but we do have to get going because we got a lot of work to do. All right, last one. You pass these around. I don't know if I need enough copies. You've seen this stuff. Okay. So 2 years ago, one of your board goals was to advocate more at the state level, right? And yeah, I only made 7 copies. So just for the board. Yeah, it's in the folder. Otherwise, there's hard copies. Perfect.
Well, these are extra and somebody needs.
Action. No, I have a copy. No,
Have a copy.
Yeah, no, I have.
You'll have the copy. Never mind.
Good.
All right.
All right. So let me frame this for you. So
Great letter.
what the board decided to do 2 years ago as part of your goals was to be more vocal at the state level to advocate for not only the needs of students in Portland, but therefore all students, because I think was it. So last year we wrote a letter like this for the first time to Senator Needleman and Representative Carpino. I think it would be great if the board would do that again. Laurel, Meg, and I talked about this. Meg's your secretary, well, president. We kind of got together and framed out some of these things. So just quickly would run through it with you, right?
These first 2 issues are issues that came about through our recent personnel negotiations. So they are relevant because we are knee deep in it.
Right. To me, these would be great changes. They're I think easy wins for a legislator to bring these forward, and they would be great for us. So anyway, otherwise, if you had any questions either about the stipends or the comp time,
I have a different question again in my head, just because you said the word secretary. Do we have one today?
She's online.
Trisha's online. Hi, Trish online. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Wait a minute. Great, no, great question. Yeah, okay.
Just the motion, that's all we have.
I'm a secretary in other parts of my life. I was like, wait. Sorry.
Yeah.
It's a good question. Keep going.
Okay, great. And then the next part is the bus electrification mandate. So if this law doesn't change by 2030, Portland is in this economic zone. I'm not entirely sure how these zones are identified, but we are one of them.
We are, we're in
That
the New Haven zone, actually, because I went to the meeting about this. Hopefully it will go away, but if it doesn't, it might not.
well,
Yeah. Anyway,
it will be very stressful if it doesn't.
I know.
Because we would need 8 or 9. Actually, no, with spares, we need 11. Because you have to have a spare bus. They don't always work.
Right, and we have to have the stations to charge them.
And these buses are about $700,000 each. Now, granted, this is an M&J problem. They'd have to buy the buses, but we also don't want to bankrupt our vendor, right? They would need to pass those expenses on to us, right? So between the costs of the investment in the buses and then charging them like a bus yard that can do this, this would be crushing budget wise. Do I agree? Would I love clean air? Of course, I think we all do, but you know.
But a mandate like this that doesn't come with any funding
No, it
is
doesn't.
just unsustainable for anywhere, but particularly in a small town.
So I think that it's fair to say, give us more time, get rid of the law or
Provide some
fund
funding.
it. Like this is the definition of unfunded mandate. If you want to state legislature buy us electric buses and give us the equipment to charge them, I'm all in. But otherwise a burden on our budget and a burden on the property taxpayers with all of the other needs we have, it just, I can't imagine.
Well, anecdotally, John, who was the head of the Connecticut school bus company owners, is very hopeful that this will go away. I mean, he's been quoted.
Are you talking about John Hipsher?
John Hipsher, yeah, and he's very negative about this, but there's a lot of other players and departments
Yeah.
or agencies involved in this, and so ownership is not just, Board of Eds and bus companies, it's a lot of departments, like DEP and clean energy and all that sort of stuff.
So
we hope.
we would, it's again, well-intentioned law, but the realities of it are from a budgetary perspective, we just couldn't do it by 2030. No chance, unless we get some significant help. Then of course, there's always the school funding, right? So, this specifically asks to increase the base grant in ECS to move towards our per pupil foundation amount, which is totally reasonable. It hasn't changed since 2013. Nothing costs the same now as it did in 2013. I know CABE and CAPS are very vocal about, increase the foundation, right? And then of course, fully fund the excess cost. Put it at the amount. And I did tell them very clearly that in the budget you're going to see from me, Stephanie has put a 72% placeholder. You're going to get good news from her tonight about that this year, right? But if we don't get that 72% next year, like we did 2 years ago, last year, the year before last, right? It wasn't last year, it was the year before last, right? Yeah, we were in that 300,000 deficit. That $300,000 deficit was caused by the state at the last minute, only giving us what, 60%?
60 something percent.
Yeah.
But it was a lot less than we expected.
It's brutal.
$387,000.
Brutal. So honor your commitments and then don't change the rules in the middle of a year.
So CABE has a partnership right now with the teachers and with municipal and unions to go to the state legislature in this legislative session and ask for the ECS. ECS funding is the LEA money the state gives every district, and it's based on enrollment and whatever town wealth and a whole bunch of other things. It's a crazy formula, but we're asking for it to be raised to $18,000 with a COLA every year.
Yeah.
Is what we're gonna ask for. And we want the Board of Eds to support it, and we'll be bringing something forward. But we've had 2 meetings, and it's critically important to do this. They haven't raised it since 2013. And honestly, it's not enough. It's just not enough.
And when the formula was created, it was intended to be indexed to
It was,
inflation.
it was,
So
and
this
they
isn't
never
a new
indexed it.
idea. It's just that it's gone unfunded for over a decade.
So we're not asking for the whole enchilada, but we want at least meet us halfway and then give us the COLA and index it like you're supposed. And that'll help towns as well. So, and I suggested, that I don't know if you saw my email in time, Charles, to send this to the education committee as well. I think,
I think
you
that's
know,
a good suggestion,
uh,
because we know that Norm and Christie will be interested in advocating on behalf of Portland, but neither of them sits on the
Um,
education committee, so I think
right.
it's a good idea to
Doug
forward it
McCrory and-
along.
Yeah, and Westford as well should get a copy of it, because I know special ed is going to come up again this year. I think they made some mistakes in what they were putting forth in June. It didn't quite finish this. There was a big study that was done over 2 years for special ed, and Representative Lesper assured us that changes were going to be for the positive, and it turned out that what came out of the legislature this year was not great in terms of privatized, of researching and having, well, number one, a carte blanche. What do I want to say? An à la carte menu for services that we now out for outplaced students. They wanted somebody to establish it. It's been given to OPM, I think, and they haven't done anything with the Department of Ed. And the other thing was that investigating the private sector organizations, including the RESTs, which are certified teachers and in place, and have in place good, authentic best practices. They included them in this, oversight for all of these. I don't know how many, I think there's over 100 different outplace private groups that would have to be looked at every year. And so it's an impossible task. So I think there's going to be some changes again on that. And we want to make sure that we're front and center and let people know up front at the legislature that this needs to be fixed.
And we've been getting letters for the tuition for next year and well, 5% increases.
They are, yeah.
It's not even like throw us a bone and give us 3%, 5%.
Well, because they're
Is the-
afraid that the à la carte will be, undercut. It's gonna be the same negotiation that we do with insurance companies. And the doctors and the hospitals will, offer something and the insurance company says, no, we're only gonna give you half as much. So the doctor raises his fee or the hospitals raise their fee to match what they're losing on the other end of it. It's the dog wagging, the tail wagging the dog, I think. But
It's just
more to come on special ed for sure. They gotta fix it, period.
But in the meantime, I think that we're not going to be the only ones. And
No.
I know for a fact, we're not going to be the only ones speaking to the school funding issues. There will be lots of other groups that will be, conveying the same message. And I think I appreciate the Portland Board of Education's willingness to,
I do too.
speak in unity with these other organizations who are also advocating for stronger state funding for public schools.
And I believe that the session starts February
First.
fourth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so around, so the timing's now.
Timing's now.
Legislative breakfasts are happening.
Yeah.
But what I've done is I have one for Senator Needleman and one for Representative Carpino, and I've got other names on it. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but if you,
But I don't have a doctor of education. I wish I did.
oh no, I put the.
Yeah. I did.
I gave it to you and not
Yeah,
Ann.
I was like, give it to her. Don't want to take hers.
All right.
It's not me.
We can
I can do this next week.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll be together on Tuesday.
Yeah.
We can,
Bill,
all right.
I think we could still talk. If
Talk
you
about it,
wanted
yeah.
to go forward with something, I don't think that should, so.
No, I think what we're looking for is.
He wanted us to sign.
Yeah, I was gonna have you sign it, but I'm gonna
Okay.
change it now.
Yes,
I don't want to.
Make the edits, but I
Okay.
think what we're looking for is sort of an agreement from the board that this is something that we'd like to put our names to and speak to as a board.
Yes,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely.
You don't have to. I
Oh,
think we just.
yeah.
Sign,
looking for
yes.
Consensus.
And I'll add as a CC, what did you say, make that education subcommittee?
It's the education committee for the state legislature.
State legislature.
Both parties.
So we'll-
Lesper is the Democrat.
Leeper.
Leeper, I'm sorry. Lesper. Leeper, and then Doug McCrory is the senator. Democrat, Republican.
So look at the names of the
Yeah.
board.
I gave him to Charles when I sent my email earlier, and I gave you the address, room
Yeah.
3100.
Awesome. So I'll clean this up. I'll give you the doctorate
Yeah.
and I'll add those CCs and then we'll sign it up next Tuesday and that will be plenty of time to.
That's great. Yeah, thank
Thank,
you.
I think it's good you guys do this. I'll also carry this message. I'm going to a legislative breakfast Friday and
Yes,
we'll
you
be
will.
sure to say.
And as
She's
was
on.
mentioned, these two labor law issues at the beginning that are first mentioned are really very specific to where we are in this moment to Portland, but may also see benefits to other districts as well. So
I
it's
did have
nice
a-
for us to be able to
I did have a
advocate for that.
question about the example that you use. If you've got a custodian who's working 40 hours, how is he gonna meet the obligation for 40 hours and then turn around and be a stipended?
Per shift.
So it would be
Yeah.
per shift, 8 hour shifts, and then he would go and be, or she would be the person who does the athletic.
But the point isn't that we're trying to, we're not trying to force anyone to do this, but we want folks, we do have folks on staff who
Would be.
are in the custodial unit or in administrative units who work full time, but who also have a real interest in coaching or doing after school activities, and we would like to have the flexibility to support them in that. So it's not about pushing anyone to do it who doesn't
No.
want to.
No, but I guess I question if you're working 40 hours a week and now you're doing athletics or you're doing coaching of clubs or whatever, it depends on what it is, but the coaching part of it is very intense sometimes and.
Yeah.
It
For
is.
sure.
So, yeah, I don't want to take away or overwork the people that are, anyway, that was just my question about the.
Yeah.
Otherwise, all good. Good
Awesome.
order, Charles, thank you for doing it.
Thank you. That's all I've got. That's a lot. All right.
Excellent. Thank you, Charles. All right, we will move on to our assistant to the superintendent for business and financial affairs. We have a finance report for us tonight.
So usually I would give you the quarterly report, but because I was doing budget stuff, I couldn't do it all. So I'll do the quarterly report at the next meeting or the next regular meeting. So this is just the regular authorized spending report that I usually do, 6 months through the year. So total percent, give or take 50, we're in a good spot. The ones that are fully encumbered, transportation, supplies, most of that stuff. As Charles said, the last meeting, my surplus was around 80,000. Right before Christmas, I looked up our excess cost. It was finally available and we're actually getting 72%, 72.72. And we budgeted I did my projections at 70, so that extra 2.72 brought us up to a little closer to 150,000 now. Because there was a move out of an outplacement, so with that reduction and the excess cost increase, we're close to about 150 now. And that's being surplus, and that's being very generous still with what's left in each department. Still giving Bob a certain amount of money, still giving Sarah a certain amount of money. So, I can give a range. I don't want to give the range yet, as we get a little closer, and out of the winter seasons with the boiler not being working, I get a little nervous. But I mean, knock on wood, as of right now, everything is looking in the positive right now, so, and that'll help for, the budget we're bringing forward now with anything that we can do to help offset anything that we couldn't fund.
Yeah.
Any questions?
No, it's awesome.
Yeah, good.
And I'll have the more detailed one next time.
That's great news about the excess cost. It's nice to.
Yeah.
I was very excited to see that number, because when it
I feel like
comes up
we're
on the
always holding our
website,
breath, waiting for that
when they
number.
come up on the website, it gives you the total number, but then there's a unauthorized amount, and then you see like a little percentage, but it's the opposite. So I have to take 100 and minus the little number there. So I'm like 29 point, whatever. I'm like trying to do it in my head, and because I couldn't think, and I was very excited to get the 72.
Yeah, that's great news. All right. Any other questions for Stephanie? No, thank you, Stephanie. All right, we have our Director of Student Services with us this evening as well for a report. Hi, Sarah. Hi. Happy New Year. Hi, 2026.
So if you got an earlier printed one, it says 2025. I had Trish update the drive. So if you're on the drive, it's the correct one, but like everyone, I realized I put the wrong year. I'll be doing that for the next couple weeks. So nothing really big tonight, just a general update on some of our department initiatives and our enrollment. So first, little grid there, as far as IEPs, we're at 260. So that prevalence rate again is under, it's 21.1%. Again, state average is around 17 at this moment. We're working on reducing that. So we are, as you can see, kind of looking up from January of last year, we're diligently working on that piece of our identification rate. Outplacement, we are down one student who has left the district. In a special program, we have an additional student that has joined our bridge program. Magnets are solid, and our 504s have gone slightly up. With that number, keep in mind that 504s can be short-term. There's a student who breaks their leg, for example, and requires special busing or, broken arm, things like that. 504s really fluctuate quite frequently because they can be short-term. Our ML numbers are also the same as they've been for the past couple months. Any questions on that kind of enrollment report?
Sarah, the pending identification number looks a little bit high to me for January. Usually I feel like we see it kind of go up later in the spring. Is there a reason for that?
So it's a couple things. The way that our data pulls, pending identification will also include students who are due for their triennial. So every 3 years, we have to reevaluate a student to see if they're still eligible for special education. So if you're identified in 2020, in 2023, we're back at the table retesting you, typically saying, are you still eligible? So the way that CT SEDS pulls that data, that number also includes students who have possibly had an IEP for years and years, and they're in that re-eval cycle.
Okay.
So that number doesn't mean these are all brand new students to special ed and we're determining their eligibility. It could be a student that is likely going to be eligible, but they're in that re-eval process, if that makes sense. I could certainly pull, if you wanted that number changed to pull only new identifications, we certainly could. But technically, anytime a student is in that eligibility process, there are students who frequently discharge from special education in the context of a triennial. So that is something that influences the number up or down.
Got it. Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah, no problem.
And sorry, I'm still don't know the date either. Can you explain the 21% to the 17% again?
Yep. So, all states and all districts pulled out on the percentage of enrolled students that are eligible for special education. Because, there's no magic test to decide if a child has a disability or not. There is, an over-identification issue broadly in our country, specifically in certain disabilities and different populations of kids. So the state will pull every year for us, what percentage of your students have an IEP, what percentage have a learning disability, have autism, have ADHD, and they also pull it by demographic categories, gender, race, socioeconomic status, all those things. And they give us data about it basically to say, are you over-identifying and where are your numbers in relation to the state? So right now, the state average is sitting around 17. I believe tail end of last year, I pulled and shared all the districts in our district reference group. So districts that are similar to us, like Old Saybrook, ones that are kind of similar, small towns. And we were at that time pushing 23%. We were quite high compared to other districts. So it kind of begs the question, are we over-identifying? Are our eligibility processes tight? Because though every town is different, every community is different. When you look at data of thousands of kids, you should question, why is Portland special? Why would our number be much higher than similar communities and so much higher than the state average? So, midway through last year, kind of had that data, and we've been diligently working on kind of investigating that. The message is certainly not stop identifying kids. It's just, hey, let's really look at our state laws, our federal guidelines, look at ourselves and make sure that we're not over-identifying any students. So that number reflects, I started adding it in after we really started doing that work. It just reflects that total percentage of students with IEPs. And we're just looking at that critically this year. It's a big department push, and I'll speak in a few minutes about some of the professional development we have planned on February 13th to kind of educate all of our staff around that. So it is a number that we're watching. We're also watching areas where we've over-identified in the past. One area that we are no longer disproportionate in as of now is Black students with learning disabilities, but that is one that we are looking at and continuing to monitor. So that data will come out in the spring again for, the past year, and we'll continue to look at it and be critical of ourselves.
Is there any data that shows that other districts are under-identifying? Like we trust?
I mean, I think there's certain municipalities that are under the state average, and there are some that are over. I think there's a lot of different factors. Just my personal opinion would be that sometimes larger districts are more heavily resourced. So some of that pre-identification work of having multiple math coaches and interventionists and reading intervention, things like that, they can intervene a little more early. Every district has a different kind of take on eligibility. Yeah, so, I think if you were to pull it out, it would be an interesting question, Erin, based on city versus rural versus suburban. Like, it would be interesting to look at all of those factors. I think my general take is that typically larger districts that are more wealthy, that are more heavily resourced, tend to have lower identification rates for that reason.
Well, no, I appreciate you looking at similar sized towns.
Yeah, but I think, because, I wouldn't compare us to, say, a Bridgeport or an Avon or a Farmington, we're not. So when we looked at our DRG, and I can send that along to you because it was, I believe, last year, we are in the higher end. So it just, it gives us an opportunity to look the mirror and say, okay, why might we be higher than very similar communities?
We also look to see the concentration of where where these numbers are for 21%. In other words, is it elementary? Is it middle school, high school? I mean, is that telling in terms of where the identification is happening? And
Yeah, I mean, generally, in most communities, and Portland is included in this, you have higher numbers around that 2nd through 6th grade, where you're typically catching things like learning disabilities at that age. It's really when you're seeing a lot come out. Generally, as students age, you're more likely to have students discharge out of special education because they've, developed compensatory strategies, they're accessing the curriculum. So I'd say we're probably heaviest in that middle age group. They do pull us, I can see daily, our percentage based on disability. So autism, ADHD, whatever the category is. So I think that's a helpful one to look at too. Just like, where are we? And that's where that LD piece came. That is one where we were quite high in certain categories. But yeah.
yeah, and the process to get to the point where a child is 504 and then IEP, is really with interventionists and other strategies that we use before we get to that point where a child is going to be seriously entered into the special ed system.
Yeah, because it is, and I think it's a piece of new learning for a lot of people, whether or not they're special educators or not. It is an eligibility process. There are state and federal guidelines of things we have to have attempted, of certain rule out factors, which I'll talk about when I talk about professional development, that are not widely known. So I think that's an area we've identified where we could tighten a little bit of that piece. All right, so some department updates, the Owlet's Nest that you heard about, I believe, last month. That's the sensory open-ended play space at Valley View. That is up and running. So right before the break, all staff were trained on kind of use of the room, what is it for? What is it not for? How do I unhook the swing? How do I have kids sign in and sign out, taking our shoes off, putting them on the little shoe thing? It's really adorable. It's been really fun. They did send out communication to all families for that opt-out notice if there are any families that did not want their child considered for the program. But generally, the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. People are excited. The question I typically get is, can we have one at every school? It's really adorable. I would suggest that you go down there. So we're starting that student screening process of identifying students that will participate in the groups. We're sort of in an exploratory phase. Students are going down there, exploring the space. We're kind of introducing it. And they don't want to leave, which is part of the issue. They're flopping in that big crash pad pit and not wanting to come out. But other than that, it's been wonderful. So thank you again to Ryan, Alyssa, Krista, Alicia, and Heather for all their work on that. They've really taken this on. So definitely come down. Professional development. So we have a big professional development day on February 13th as a district. There's kind of two parts of it. There's a mandatory, if you will, session, and then we're doing an ed camp style. So that's sort of like a choose your own adventure that Chuck Hirschon's been putting together. So staff will have the opportunity, you've got 5 choices for the morning, 5 for the afternoon. Which one do you want to go to? What do you want to learn about? And I did want to highlight a couple things. We are having a whole district for elementary and secondary presentation by me around that eligibility piece. So we're going to talk about, these are our federal guidelines around eligibility. We're going to do some case studies. So let's say you get this case. Are there rule out factors that would make a child ineligible? What are other strategies we should try? What are we thinking about this? Because I think that's new learning, particularly for classroom teachers. If you don't do a special education degree, that's all new learning. So I'll be presenting that to the whole district, and then some student services staff that are doing ed camp style sessions. I just wanted to highlight, we have Sam Starr, of course, doing chronic absenteeism and attendance. It's his favorite thing. Julie McGovern's gonna be doing some work on how multilingualism impacts classroom performance and support strategies, particularly highlighting students who may not speak the language that they're exposed to at home, but how that still impacts, for example, their progress learning to read, things like that. I'm going to do one about why behavior plans fail, kind of like troubleshooting behavior plans. Trish Doherty is doing a great one on executive function strategies for students with ADHD. And then Alyssa Sampagnaro, formerly Alyssa Law, will be doing one on assistive tech. So we've got some great things going on that I think will kind of all lead to that big department goal of really looking at ourselves in terms of eligibility and support. So any questions about that? Nope, it's gonna be a good day. No open positions right now other than a backup van driver. Again, if you would like to get your van cert, please come find us. We will pay for it. Transportation, couple things just to highlight. Data continues to support that the vans are really just saving us significant amounts, especially like one-off expenses. You know, we have a student who breaks a leg and can't go on a bus, and we would be paying a daily $250 or so daily rate for a bus or a van. We're now able to do that in-house. So it really is, paying dividends. So thank you guys so much for supporting that endeavor. We are looking into some improvements for our fleet. We recently started this year, kind of geo-tracking and camera monitoring. So we've moved to a different service where we can see all of our vans are on a dashboard. We can track times. We can see how long they stayed at a stop. It's the same software that M&J uses, but it was something that we needed. We moved forward with it. So that's going to improve the fleet for next year. But we're continuing to talk about, would we get a fourth? How would we rotate our vans? You know, we're doing all that work. But the big one, I think, at this time is improving the fleet that we have. And then the last little piece I have is just that state mandated data sharing. None of these are changed except for the very end. I neglected 2 of our vocational sites for our transition program that are added. So the first one is Sliceworks Pizza in Glastonbury. They're a great organization that works with our kids, and they bless you, and they employ a lot of adults with disability. So it's a great place. If you want pizza, definitely go there. And then Hungerford Nature Center in Berlin, our students also work there, and they were left off the initial list, but otherwise no changes. Those are, again, that mandated by the state sharing of all the community organizations we partner with and all of our outside contractors. So no changes other than those 2. Any other questions for me? No.
Sarah, you're going to stick around for the van driver discussion?
Yep, I will be here.
Perfect. And the
policy. Yep, I'll be here all night. Yep. All right, thank you all so much.
Sarah. If there are no other questions from board members,
Just a
Nope.
you again.
Nope.
we'll move on. Thank you so
All right.
much for your report.
Thanks. You're welcome.
All right, we're gonna move to new business. So first item is a first reading on the 2026-2027 school district calendar. We usually allow for a second reading unless, folks are raring to go and want to take action, but typically we would look at this and then take action at our next meeting. So I don't know if you want to address it. This to me looks very standard.
very standard, yeah.
Very much like our current year calendar.
Right. It does also almost align with the Learn regions. The only difference is that most of our Learn regions don't have the Wednesday off for Thanksgiving. Most have a half day that day. That was something that was adopted. I think it was the Philip O'Reilly I like to cook day, but I know it's a part of the culture now. And
Yeah, so that's really
but,
funny.
but that's who may have started it, and we should call it that on the calendar here.
Should have it on the calendar.
Other than that, it's very much like this year.
Gotcha. That's funny. Yeah, I think actually the only question I really had about this was I was curious about it was having to do with just the school open houses and the proposal of having the middle and high school open house on the same evening. I was curious about that, how that might impact families who have both middle and high schoolers. And whether that was a deliberate, like I know that this year at the open houses, well, I believe both the middle school and high school brought in guest speakers and we're trying to.
I think that's what it is.
So is there some kind of deliberate partnership? But if so, can we maybe before we take action on this next time, I'd love to hear about how they're going to make sure that a parent who has a kid at both schools would be able to meet the teachers for both their students.
Yes, that is what it is. Kate and Mike have a speaker. I think it's actually, I don't want to give you bad information, but I think it's in collaboration with Youth Services.
Great.
That they wanted to offer that speaker the same night. But let me get more information. I'm sorry, I will bring that to you.
Okay.
At the second.
Great, that sounds good.
And my only question, same thing about the open houses, and it's one of those minutia things. I know for me, it always comes so quickly when it's like, oh my gosh, it's September 3rd and we have open house. I'm not ready. Is it ever alternated? Which school has it? That first week of September? Is it always Gildersleeve? Is there ever, oh man, I wish ours could be later because it's so hard to be ready? Conversations or not so much?
They all got pushed one more. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. This is how we figured out those nights. At the last leadership team meeting, I said, when do you want your open house nights? And first person who spoke grabbed the nights. There was no scientific thought to it. It was mostly that. And a conversation with Mike and Kate going, oh, we have a speaker, which Thank you for saying that, because that's the reason, but I will tell you who the speaker is and give you information about how parents with a middle school and a high school
Yeah.
student could accomplish attending
I would
both
hope,
those parents, right?
based on experiencing the speakers, that then the whole time frame was longer. I hate to say it, but we didn't really get to our teachers because of the speaker.
I kind of would echo that.
Yeah,
Experience all.
I appreciate what they're trying to do, or like with the speaker at the end. But I didn't get to talk to the teachers because of the speaker
I'll find
in
out.
both cases.
That's good feedback. I'm actually meeting with the leadership team tomorrow at 9 a.m. So it's fresh in my mind.
Yeah,
Bring
we
that
need
up,
to get
and
more
then
info.
by the second reading,
Another kind of theoretical question is, I know we've been operating this way for a long time, that we do the 2-hour delay once a month. And some districts do more frequent full days off, rather than a sporadic, or they'll do a release instead of a late delayed start. I'd be curious to just have some broad feedback. Do we like the delayed start? Is that working well for our faculty? You know, are those 2 hours, it's just such a short amount of time, but if it's very useful to have the smaller chunks rather than a bigger day off. I just would, would love to have a little bit of feedback from folks about whether
think
those are
parents are
functioning well for
frustrated.
us.
But it's also parents are frustrated because they're going in to work late, or they've got to drop their kids somewhere, and
Yeah.
it's not like you could get Kids Blast or Kids Corner to take a kid for 2 hours once a month, because they don't do those kinds of things, so.
I mean, my only, and I hear that too, and I have heard that from some families, but the trade-off is, it's mandated to have professional learning for our staff. It's just as challenging to find childcare when you've got several whole days off
Oh,
from
yeah,
school.
I agree.
So it is a little bit of a trade-off. I guess I just like to know that this is a system that's working well for our staff. Is it doing what we want it to do, to have these smaller chunks?
It is. I think there's a couple, and you're right. So those of us who are old, remember the days of CEUs. Those, right? And we're collecting CEUs, right? Well, CEUs went away, and they passed a law that said you will have to provide it in-house. Here are the mandatory trainings, right? And that we have to provide the time for.
Yeah.
And a lot of that we do in vector and bloodborne pathogens, all the things that we have to do, and then all the new learning our teachers need.
Yeah.
Right? So you're right. Every district does it a little different. Most districts, like Middletown, do you do a combination or early dismissals and delayed openings, or is it all? I mean,
Every other month in early dismissal.
Yes.
So it does hit the families less frequently because we have a 3 to 4 hour time period instead of a 2 hour.
everybody's different. What are you doing?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah, we do.
Early dismissal.
Dismissals. And I think from an educator perspective, working beyond the contract today, I think about here and think, oh my gosh, 2 hours, you're in the middle of a groove of something and oh no, the students are coming quick, we gotta pack up.
And that's what
Versus I can say, okay, I'm gonna take 20 more minutes and be 20 minutes later getting home kind of thing. I always think about that and think, do they feel rushed? Do they feel like, we didn't get to finish, if only we had 10 more minutes? You don't have that luxury because
kids are coming.
students are coming.
Especially if you're in a building and you've got to travel back to another school.
Right,
And
that's
you're
true.
watching, you need, and the traffic with drop off and Karen, sometimes you're in the line trying to get to the parking lot and you can't even get into the building and you're late. So
I think it's just, I did ask if that you remind me that was the reason my husband's in high school, but that they did an early, and then they switched to the early dismissal instead of the late start.
Middletown does the afternoon, early dismissal, so and they do the same.
So every district does
Curious. I know
something.
different districts have different ways of handling it and different kind of culture around handling it, but I guess. We haven't really had a conversation about, is this working? And I would love to get some feedback.
Yeah, and why don't I do this? I think that a great person, let me give you feedback, is Chuck. Why don't I ask Chuck to address, he's on next week, or our next meeting. Right before the second read, I'll ask for feedback from Kate and Mike about how we can ensure everybody has time to see the speaker, which is a great idea, but also get to all of your teachers and what we do to support parents with kids in both middle school and high school to have that experience. And I'll ask Chuck feedback on the value of delayed opening versus early dismissal.
Yeah, if you could seek some feedback from teachers, especially, I guess it was on my mind hearing about some of the professional development that Sarah and her team are running, and we've been talking about this over the last year, just the really incredible professional learning variety that's being offered, many of whom, many of which are being led by in-district experts, which is so cool. I know that folks feel like the timeline that we have set up works for that.
So I have another fly in the ointment. Thanksgiving, we have Election Day, we have Veterans Holiday, then we have 2 half-days, 2 days before Thanksgiving. Why can't we just have that week off? The parent conferences could be done the next week or whatever.
No, we can't be.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
gonna push
don't
back
say-
on that as a
don't-
parent.
The thing is, a lot of
Off in
people,
November before a week and a half off
but
in
a lot of
December is
people will
rough.
travel and go places as well. And now we've got 2 half-days, which you still gotta accommodate the parents who are, gonna be home or have to make sure the kids have a place to go. And then another day off just before things. I don't know, it seems to me that that could be easily accomplished with. Anyway.
To me, if I would rather have them in February, but
Well, and
Yeah.
the other thing is, we could talk about that too, but I know that there are sports things going on and that always is impacted by. But it seemed to me that a lot of the school districts did have Monday and Tuesday off, and they don't do their parent conferences the week before. We're only in school 16 days and 2 of them are half days. And then, so I don't, just throw it out there.
I have one question unrelated to that. Juneteenth is in blue. All the other blue days are no school days. Now, it's unlikely we're to get there, but I don't think that we've made a determination on that, so I'm just a little concerned about what we're indicating.
good question. So we won't,
I'm
we won't put it as blue.
I wouldn't put it as blue, and I think, I was curious about whether it was there because that aligns with the town's calendar. The town takes, the workday off, but that's not how it's written into our contracts.
Well, I think it's there because that's how it was on the learn count.
Okay.
I think what Trisha did is she took this and to the maximum extent she could, which matches up perfectly with the Learn regional calendar, except for the Thanksgiving day. So I think on the Learn regional calendar, you'll see that as the time, but we can change it.
Acknowledge that Juneteenth is on the 19th. We don't have, it's not written into our contracts or our practice to have
Correct.
previous day off.
Good catch.
Yeah.
Take that off.
Other questions, thoughts? Take a week to think it over and we'll talk about it more in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Great, the next item of new business is a discussion on increasing, rearranging van driver hours. This was a conversation that began at personnel and there's a recommendation to come have the conversation at the full board level.
Sarah, you want to come up, talk to about the midday runs and what we're trying to accomplish, and Stephanie can fill everybody in how we would pay
Okay.
for it and save money doing it.
Yep. So as you guys know, we have the 3 vans that we're operating. We right now have 3 drivers, all of which are under full-time. One van is solely supporting the transition program. So that's our young adults 18 to 22. We also have another driver that is primarily doing outplacement runs. And we have another driver that's doing a hybrid of in-district stuff and outplacement runs. The challenge that we are facing is that if we have no additional trips or things or needs, we can keep everyone at the hours they are. The challenge is that when we do have those one-off, so to speak, needs, or if we have a new need emerge or transition program, finds a new job site they'd like to explore, we are at a point where we're saying we can't do it because it would push them into full-time. And they are in a part-time position. So bringing one driver to full-time would give us that needed flexibility and a little more hours. So we are not always trying to cut under that amount. And really the bulk of it is in district, midday runs or a child breaks their leg or child needs to get to a specific thing for a week or two, and to contract those. I mean, the bus rate is around $250, increasing, as I'm sure, Steph and Dr. Britton have shared. So I think it makes absolute sense. We're seeing massive savings from the vans overall. And also we have great drivers and I would like to retain them. And I think having the possibility of a full-time role helps us keep that continuity, because really our vans cannot run if we don't have reliable staff to work in them. And we've been blessed to find the folks that we have. Challenging to find backup staff. So I do want to honor both the need for more hours and that, piece of incentivizing our staff to stay with us because we have those needs for them to fill. That makes
So
sense.
would you make it a 0.8 or would you make it a full-time 37.5 hour?
So we would make it a full-time with benefits. Yeah,
And if
a
there's
full-time.
extra time in their schedule, could they be pick up the mail and deliver it or whatever?
Yeah, we typically have time. So right now, for things like, it sounds silly, but like oil changes, vacuuming the van, bringing it to the DMV to be inspected. Typically Olivia's doing that, honestly. And if we had someone, not that that would be their primary job, but if we could have a van driver do that versus Olivia taking it to the DMV or Olivia taking it for an oil change and it kind of disrupting her role as transportation coordinator and my assistant, I think that would also be helpful. But we do have a lot of random items, if you will, that person could do. I don't think we'd be in a place where we're saying, no, we can't fill your full-time hours in a given week. Yeah.
Sarah, one of the things we discussed when the personnel committee was having this conversation, and one of the questions that we had to do with this, there was budgeted a fourth part-time van driver that we have not filled.
Mhm.
I think you kind of called it a backup
Yep.
driver in your monthly updates, and that's gone unfilled. And so those hours have gone unfilled. So there've been some savings. Am I getting that right, Stephanie? So our question was really, if we increase this third van driver or one of the three van driver positions from part-time to full-time, will we still have a need for a fourth part-time backup, or would you eliminate that position and just be full with one full-time and two part-time?
In an ideal world, I would like someone to be truly backup. If we have someone who is sick, that we can cover it. Right now, part of the issue that we're facing is when folks are out on leave or if they're ill or something happens, we then have another driver fill in and they're bumping over that full-time. So I think the full-time person would, one, safeguard against that. But ideally, yes, if I could have someone that would be on standby and say, hey, I can't offer you, a consistent number of hours a week, but if I give you a call, you live in town, you want to do a run for me, I think that's really what we'd be looking for, not necessarily weekly reoccurring hours. Right now, the hours that we're looking for are about 8 to 10 hours a week, and we're having trouble filling that because, as you can imagine, it's a very specific person that wants to work irregular hours for 8 to 10 a week. It really is a side gig kind of role, so it's hard to find that person.
So that current part-time position has been budgeted at 8 to 10 hours a week.
Yep.
It's gone unfilled thus far this year.
Yes.
We would no longer need those 8 to 10 hours every week guaranteed. If we increased to full-time, it would still
Yes.
be ideal to have someone strictly as backup.
Yes, exactly. I would want someone strictly as an emergency call, but not the expectation of regular hours.
Gotcha.
But we have gone without that emergency person all year, and it's really the drivers who've stepped up, but that full-time cushion would be helpful, especially if we have folks that are, unable to drive for whatever reason on short notice. Yeah.
Thank you. That helps me wrap my head around that.
So we would take the
You
funding
mentioned that there
from,
people want these part-time gig. Is there somebody that wants this full-time?
There is, yes,
Okay.
we do. Yeah. One of our existing drivers is interested in more hours.
and I guess, the long range plan here, obviously, we're putting miles on these things. Do you foresee in the next year or two another van, picking up some of the extra? I mean, if we have short runs where the buses are half empty and most people are dropping their kids at school, is it possible that a van would be, maybe a larger van or whatever, a small minibus, but do you foresee that would be part of building that fleet and also replacement vehicles at some point?
Yep, we've talked about the replacement cycle before and even the rotating. The transition van gets the most mileage. So we've talked about rotating our vans to make sure we're not burning one, trying to be even with it. Yes, so we did speak about it. And when we talk about the proposal for the transition plan, a lot of it is around that. Olivia and I have spoken about either a slightly larger passenger van, such as a 12-person. Right now, if all of the transition program wants to go somewhere, we would need 2 vans. And our vans are mostly doing outplacement runs, so we can't necessarily have them for that. So we've talked about, talked about a passenger van, and in the context of the, expansion of the transition program, Dr. Britton and I have discussed opening ourselves to tuition transition students as a revenue source. But if we were to expand the program, we would certainly need to look into more, more transportation options. So we've talked about both a passenger van, or we'd have to do a cost analysis of it, of doing an additional mini. You know, and we spoke about this when we were buying the third. The difficulty in terms of offsetting outplacement transportation costs is it's very dependent on geographically where students are placed. So I wouldn't be buying that with the expectation of reducing outplacement transportation at this time, just based on where our kiddos are in the state. But it would be nice if we're able to tuition in some students to transition, we generate a bit of revenue, but then we would need something that could take up to, say, 12 students versus our small crew. Which would, you know, and we can speak more in specifics as we go through this about what typical tuition would be for a student coming into that type of program.
We would not be picking up the students that are out of district that are coming in.
No, I mean, we would have to,
Transported, and then they would be picked up and taken back.
yeah, just like we transport our outplaced students, we would function, if you will, as an outplacement, and we would tuition in students. So that's something that we'll, I'm sure, discuss in depth, but we've talked about a fourth vehicle in the context of that expansion. And that would allow us to go, for example, if we did social events with other transition programs, we did community outings. Right now it's challenging because not everybody can fit in a minivan, and it would certainly be exacerbated if we had 12 students instead of 7. We couldn't, you know, transport everyone easily.
So I guess the other question I have is, in this job description of this full-time driver, is it possible that that person could be like a fleet manager, making sure that the oil gets changed and the cars get washed, or whatever, but whatever the maintenance issues are for them? I mean, would that person have the skill set to be kind of a fleet manager person without, you know, increasing the salary to the point of a fleet manager?
I mean, I think it would depend on what their hours look like. I think Olivia and I feel that we can fill the hours with solely driving, but those little things of washing the car, oil, vacuuming, yeah, I think that's the person we would typically put
Right,
those
and even
things on.
sanitizing the seats and doing all that fun
Yep.
stuff that goes on.
Yeah, which you don't think about, and then taking it to the A&B and Olivia's up in the lift and didn't know they were gonna take her all the way up, and you know, all the things we didn't know when we purchased the vans were gonna be things that happen when you have a fleet. Yeah.
Fleet management is another whole issue, and the more vans you get, the more,
Oh, I know. Yeah. But I
Yeah.
think, you know, and that's why, you know, we went back and forth of, could we do a fourth this year? Would it offset? I think just it's a role of where kids are outplaced, if it would be neutral, a positive or a negative, but the transition program, I think, is where we would look to build our fleet. Because outplacements also fluctuate and we have a goal of decreasing them. So I would never want us to invest in another vehicle and then also be working to bring those down, and that doesn't, you know, it's not cost effective. But yeah, passenger van, it's going to be pink. Just kidding. If we're getting a fourth, it's going to be, you know, bedazzled.
So can I ask Stephanie for you to talk a little bit about the kind of cost analysis here? Because I think in personnel, you spoke to why it makes sense, or how it would be paid for, or how costs would be offset.
Yep, well, because right now we have the 4th person budgeted for, so that funding has been sitting there, so that will help with I mean, the hours increase wouldn't be that much because where we are in this point of the year. So that would help offset the cost to increase the hours, and then a little bit of the benefit package. Because I mean, again, if this person were to take benefits, it wouldn't kick in until February, you know, that's
Every
4
month,
months
4
worth.
months.
So it's, I think what's there is enough to cover, and we have surplus. If we were in a deficit, I wouldn't be suggesting it. And then we are building it in the budget for next year to sustain having that position be full-time.
Okay.
So this just needs to get us just to the end of the year.
Yeah.
Thank you. Board members, are there questions either for Stephanie about how it gets paid for, or for Sarah about the need for a full-time driver?
It definitely is helpful because Olivia comes in weekly and she's like, oh, I'm like this close. I might go over on this much because this person's got to go somewhere and this one's got to go somewhere. And this would just, because it's not, you know, if you hit 30 or if you hit 30 hours in 1 week, you automatically have to offer them benefits. You know, there's a look back period that you have to do. But if you're consistently going over, that's where we're kind of in a pickle if we don't offer it to them. So that's why we just cover ourselves. And, you know, if there's somebody that goes out on leave and, you know, vacations, some people don't drive over the summer, so it's helpful to have the extra hours there.
Yeah, it sounds like there's a need for it, and that they will be put to good use.
Yep, yeah, no downtime. You see them, they're zipping all around, Portland. So yeah, it would be an appreciated investment. And to Meg's question, we're always looking to expand, bring more savings, build what we have. And I think this is a step in that direction for us.
If you look at 51010 and transportation too, you'll see we're at about 120,000 savings. Because everything's encumbered at that point. So it's working.
Yeah, and I can't emphasize, the little ones that add up. So for example, our life skills program wants to go to Adams on a field trip. We would typically spend $270 on a bus. Then child breaks their leg. They need to be on a small van for a month. That would typically be $250 every day. So it's not only the outplacements, but it's all those little teeny tiny things that just add up to big expenses that we're now able to do in-house. And that I think that's where the bulk of the savings is at this point.
Yeah, also something that's gonna have retention for people like Olivia who are now not putting oil in vans, they're doing their job. Yeah.
Yes.
It's a good point.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we increase the hours for one full-time driver for the special needs department, special ed department. And that we use the funding according to the extra funding that we have in the part-time 4-hour or the fourth position, 8 to 10 hours. That makes sense. Yes.
I'll second that.
Okay.
Seconded by Sarah.
Without a form, yeah, we're good.
Any other discussion, any other questions, comments? Nope, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed, any extensions? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. All right, this next item of new business is a Gildersleeve grant proposal for Valley View and Gildersleeve. It's Practicing Cuentos Spanish immersion program brought to us through Julie McGovern.
So just a reminder, this is a little different this year. So
It's a little different.
yeah, so what we've done in the past is come with all of the Gildersleeve grants at the end of the year in preparation for next year. The Gildersleeve Committee has said we are willing to take grants throughout the year, right?
And they opened a second, opened a second window.
Right, so this application used to have a thing called deadlines on them, right? So this is gonna be more like a rolling process. Now, we'll still have some of the big ones the same way we do it, like the same way historically in the spring. Because it's important, because that's also something that we very much have relied on to supplement the budget in many ways. But ones like this are great. So Julie has found this opportunity for all of our K2 students. It's awesome. It's singing and having conversations and talking about learning language through song, right? And I think it's wonderful. I wish we had a world language special, but this is at least something that we can be doing for our students. Thank you, Julie, for finding this individual who is Anna Ugadi, and she'll come in and have this experience for our students. It's a $2,000 mini grant, and I'd love your blessing on it. So in order for us to bring grants to the Gildersleeve Committee, they have to be approved by the board. If you're comfortable with this, I'd love to bring this along.
So, okay, well, I have a quick question. I love this. I think this is delightful. And I love that the Gildersleeve Dealer Fund has opened up the opportunity for there to be consideration on a rolling basis, because we ran into a situation last year where there was this lovely proposal for a really cool theater experience for our Brownstone students. But by the time the deadline came along, it was too late for us to take advantage of that for the previous school year. So, or the school year we were currently in. So I think it opens up really great opportunities for some of these smaller, really enriching experiences for our students. How does this work? My question really is about our obligation as a board. In the past, when we've presented a whole package of proposals, we've had to kind of indicate, these are our top 2 priorities. We really want to prioritize this particular curriculum. We really want to prioritize, the music technology studio, right? Like, we've had to indicate what's first, second, third.
Yeah.
So when we're doing smaller things kind of as they go, is that, do we not have to worry about that piece of it because these are smaller requests?
I think so. I mean, in
Do we
fact,
give them an indication, like we will have a big ticket item that will be our top priority coming to you in the spring? Like, what do they expect from us?
yeah. So here, in fairness, if you look at the second page, you see under 3, it says rank.
Mhm.
Like part of what what you've been asked to do is sort of rank them. Now,
When there are many.
right, when there are many, I've kind of done that for you.
Yeah.
Right? If this were a $25,000 proposal, I don't think I'd bring it to you, right? Because Andy and I have lots of conversations. He's sort of telling me, signaling to me, hey, all right, so the amount that we're eligible to apply for is often a reflection of the dividends or whatever the value is spinning off that they can spend. And he's telling me, it looks like we're gonna have on the DL this amount, right? I'm also knowing that, hey, we have a group of teachers looking at 3 math programs, or 2, we've narrowed it down to 2 now. One is more expensive than the other, right? If in any way we're gonna inhibit our ability to get our new math program, which believe me is my number one, like that is the rank. I would be saying, Julie,
We have to wait on this.
yeah, we have to wait on this, but for $2,000, based on what Andy is telling me, we will have enough
Okay.
room.
So you're.
But that's a really good question and it's a good point.
So just to reiterate, you think that based on conversations with Andy and that they've got some flexibility and that with the rolling things throughout the year, if we want to encourage our staff to bring forward smaller proposals to enrich our students' classroom experience, that's not going to in any way prohibit us from going after the larger ticket items that we know are going to be top priority to the district.
Right, and because I'm gonna be saying no to
Yeah.
that.
Okay.
I mean, if somebody comes to me with I want $50,000 for,
Yeah.
But if 10 people come with $2,000 asks,
that's right, that's very good. This might get legs and then we might run into that problem. Now, this is the only one that's come up, but
Yeah.
again, and Andy has visited the faculties and that's what he's looking for. He's looking for a more ongoing relationship with the schools, which is great, but
I think that's so lovely.
yeah, I do too. I think it's a great opportunity, but I'm gonna, I'm gonna have to shortstop them because
what
Yeah.
is it typical- what do they typically give? I don't even know.
hundreds of thousands we've got. Our entire power school system.
Year or?
No, each year it's
About 100.
Sometimes you'd be surprised.
I don't think that for the year is what we're allowed to spend.
So we could look back, we could probably pull some numbers over the last few years and give you some examples. Yeah.
And basically, the Gildersleeve Fund is huge, but they usually allot a certain amount of money every year that they can, it used to be twice a year that you could apply. It was October and March, then it went to once a year. But yeah, they usually figure out what they can take from the interest on the funding. So it looks like this is a one-off opportunity though, so each class would be getting a 45-minute class, and then it would be up to the teachers or to school librarian or whatever music people, to continue to have kids be able to explore the Spanish words, maybe play the music again or play the games or whatever she's gonna do. So I think that's great. The fact that we're introducing that is really important.
Just get clarity on the process. So is this one of the applications that's going to come by March 1st deadline, or it's just a rolling application process?
This is what we're piloting this year. So this is the first one that you've gotten that hasn't been presented with all of them in the spring, right? And this is sort of, Chuck and Andy and I have been kind of like communicating this with people, and Julie is the first teacher to move on now.
Go to it.
Right, so, and it, this is the Gildersleeve Wheeler thing is now has changed this a little bit, and we're trying it, right? So, we'll see how this goes. Now, again, it's a good point, because if this gets legs, right, and all of a sudden, if next October we have 2,000, right? Well, yeah, that's taking a chunk out of, what we might be prioritizing for things like our student management system, right? Or some of the big ticket items. At this point with these dollar amounts, which are relatively reasonable, I think we can do it. If this starts to become bigger, and then we have to start ranking them. Yeah.
I'm just still not clear, like, is the fund going to be considering this application as soon as we approve it? Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, as soon as you approve it, Andy's ready to call the committee together and ask them to.
And just so you guys understand the process as far as how we get the money, I get a packet of them once the staff members start working on their projects and purchasing their items, I put it's in a certain fund, and quarterly, I have to send a bunch of documents, invoices, copies of checks over to Andy, and then they cut us a check quarterly. Sometimes it doesn't, like, I haven't done the July through September one, you know, as long as you're within a time frame. So like, that's what I'll be working on now. I'll do July through September and then October through December. So then, you know, it's like a rolling kind of reimbursement that we get.
Okay, so you said Andy has reached out to all of the staff, so back to that question. Is this just the first one? Are we going to be seeing 20 more coming between now and the next Board of Ed
Sounds
meeting?
like the
Should we
answer is we'll
be
see.
giving that whole prioritizing and have it? Yeah.
Right.
That's
Sounds
my
like
only-
she gets
He went on
lucky
the
for being
rounds.
the first. Right, if we approve this, she gets lucky, and then if 10 more come in, then we have to look at rankings and.
I believe Andy was attending
Yeah.
all of the staff meetings, your staff meetings at each of our schools.
Yeah, and he was also clear that the committee's willing to work with us for things like the math curriculum. But they really love this. Like,
do
this is the kind
Yeah,
of
they
thing
love,
that
yeah.
that artist in residence, that field trip, or that experience-based things, are like, this is gravy. Then they will
And
very
frankly,
happy to
like,
see that.
that's phenomenal for us, because this is the sort of thing that is very hard for us to fund when we're looking at, you know, 15% insurance increase, or, you know, whatever percentage on outplacements and transportation, right? Like, this is lovely that they want to prioritize this.
And I just want to
Thank
make sure
goodness.
everybody's aware of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If there is a wish that they've been wanting to do for the past few years, they can, try to get that moving.
Well, I think the Lego thing was one of those programs, the Lego Club.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just have a question. Assuming that this is going to be successful and we're going to do it year in and year out, is there an assessment, or is there any end game to make sure that this is meeting the needs of immersing the kids in Spanish language? You know, I mean, it's a fun thing, right? We're not teaching Spanish we're not holding a world language class for kindergarten through second grade. This is just going to be introducing some vocabulary, some music, some movement, whatever. But will this, so it sounds like the Gildersleeve Fund will continue as long as we like the program and we're seeing some benefit. We would continue to do it over a period of years, correct?
I don't think we're making any kind of commitment long term.
not.
This is
Just
just, we're asking
one-off.
them to fund a
Okay.
one-time experience for our students.
Okay, okay, all right.
I think
Yeah.
that's, I
When
think
you
that's the
said
purpose
rolling,
of it.
I think that was why I also thought it would roll over every year.
No, they fund the first time initiative.
I just meant, were they considering applications on a basis rather
Right,
than?
not
on
rolling,
this,
right,
that's
right,
really-
right. And understand the rolling basis part of it, but also that if we like this and this is a good program or
Then we'd
whatever,
have to pick it up
we'd
in the
have to
LEA
pick it up.
budget. Yeah, they fund it the one time.
It is a one-time, it's still, that is still a rule, one-time funding and then fund it in your budget. Yeah. Okay, all right, very clear, thank you.
Okay, other questions? Good conversation. If there are no more questions, is there a motion to approve this Wheeler Education Fund application?
So moved. I'm gonna go into the language.
A second, seconded by Annie. Any further discussion?
We're good.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And thanks to Julie McGovern for pulling that together. That was really fun. A great experience for our kids.
It's so fun.
Well, good night, Stephanie. Thank you so much. All right, we'll move to old business. The only item of old business is Board of Ed policy 6159, individualized education program. You'll remember this is mandatory language change that came to us through state legislation. And there was a question the last time we looked at this from Sarah about some of the language. And so Sarah is here tonight to help us answer that question before we take action.
Should I just?
Yeah,
ask
do
my
you,
question?
maybe Sarah, do you want to kick it off with your question about the policy? language?
Sure.
Come on, both of you, come on up, Sarah. And thank you for sticking around.
So on page 1,
At the bottom of the first section, there's a paragraph that says, any individualized education program developed for a student with disability shall specify whether the student shall achieve the district's adopted content standards or whether the student shall achieve individualized standards. That would indicate the student has met the requirements of his or her IEP. That was an addition. That was one of the suggested additions to the policy. And so my question was, what is the context for that addition?
I think it's two things. There's similar language in another part of the policy around alternate assessments. They kind of repeat the language. So I think a piece of it is around state and district assessments. So as you guys may or may not know, 99% of students take state and district assessments. So the SBAC and Ames Web and whatever in-district assessments we use. Alternate assessments are available for typically 1% or under of students. That is students that need to meet two criteria. One, through their IEP. One, they need to have a full scale IQ under 70, which is, significantly cognitively disabled. That has to be backed up by, evaluation and documentation. Two, they need to have an adaptive score, so their ability to kind of function in the environment, also under a scaled score of 70. So that is a student when you think of the most severe cognitive and functional disabilities. The state monitors that. It has to be under 1% of our population that qualifies for those through the IEP. So I think a piece of that language is reflecting that there is a population that is going to be assessed and be functioning significantly off grade level, but they specify that it has to be a very small percentage, 1% or under. So I think one piece of that language is that alternate assessment piece, recognizing that. I also think the other reason for that is around modified grading through IEP. So there are students where their grades are based on their IEP goals and objectives. And again, that's a pretty small percentage of students, but students for whom, particularly it's a middle high school question when we talk about modified grading, really not as much at elementary, but students who, again, have significant disabilities, high support needs, are functioning to where their grades would be based on their specific goals and objectives. So I assume that both of those things are referenced to that being in the IEP, and they're both already in our Connecticut IEP. So I think that's what that piece is. And I do think some of the reason for that are the cases that we've seen go big in the news around like student graduated from high school being unable to read, like those types of cases. So I think that that language is a function of alerting parents early if your child is functioning significantly off grade level. So I think that was the push for that language. And I think it's reflected, one, in the alternate assessment eligibility, and two, in things like modified grading or grades based on IEP, which is an accommodation that we do put in on occasion. So I think that's where that's coming from.
So it's codifying our practice.
Yes, and it's currently in our IEPs, but I think the parental notification piece was the big one coming out of those blockbuster cases of how could no one know that this child was functioning at this level. So I think that's why it's there. And it's in our IEPs. It's something that we already do. But again, it's a small percentage, and it's something that we monitor how many kids qualify for that.
Yeah. Is that?
Yep.
Are you
that answers it.
satisfied with that? Thank you so much.
No
That
problem.
is good information to have. Were there any other questions or thoughts or concerns about the policy language changes?
There's also a regulation to consider, but we're just approving the policy.
We are
correct?
just approving the policy. Yep. Yeah. If there's no other thoughts or questions, then given that we've had 2 readings, I would ask for a motion to approve policy 6159, individualized education program. So moved. Thank you, Meg. Is there a second? A second. Seconded by Sarah. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. I believe that was unanimous. Thank you all very much. And thank you, Sarah, for the good question. And thank you, Sarah, for the great answer. We're going to move on to committee reports. Curriculum has not met since, no new reports since last, correct? Do you have a meeting scheduled for January yet?
We do.
Great. Wednesday the 14th?
We do, yes.
All right, then we'll hear from you all at our next meeting. Policy.
Has not met for a very long time.
2 months.
Yeah, and we are chomping at the bit to get going again, 2 weeks from now before the next board meeting. So I think the
20th.
20, yep.
Say the 20th. Excellent. All right. So we'll look forward to reporting at our next meeting. Personnel, did meet. We believe, concluded negotiations, with our custodians. We do not have that yet to sign. I believe there was a little bit of back and forth still with our attorney and their representative. So hopefully that will come to the board shortly, we think.
We might have an executive session,
Maybe on the 20th.
maybe on the.
That would be great.
Yeah.
We have also begun negotiations with our paras. That is our final bargaining unit, for this year. So we've only just begun. We won't have anything for the board for, I imagine, not till probably February, March, yeah. We did meet and discuss, the increased van driver hours conversation that we already had.
And you're meeting tomorrow for transportation.
We are meeting tomorrow for transportation.
Did we get the waiver? Did we get
The bid waiver, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's fine.
Didn't tell you that. I'm sorry.
Just,
Oh, do you want to give that a little update?
I'm sorry. Yeah, so
that's a
Board of
Is the way
Selectmen
discussion.
gave us the bid waiver. It was a great discussion with them. As we know, that we had the tentative agreement that
Yeah.
we shared with them. So now that we have the approved bid waiver, we can move from tentative to actually negotiating a contract.
Great.
It's all pretty much framed out. You know, there are a couple of details, including, well, I won't share too much, but we have some ideas. So tomorrow we're scheduled to meet with the Personnel Committee, our attorney who negotiates a lot of these contracts around the state, and it's very valuable to have with us, and our M&J partner. So we may have, with a little luck, two to discuss on the 20th. If not, I'm thinking the first meeting in February. Hopefully custodians and transportation.
Yeah, and then that is good news. Thank you for asking about that. I don't think there was anything else from personnel, Sarah. Nope. All right, buildings and grounds. I heard you all met tonight.
Did Dave wanna make the report?
Well, the big one is the boiler.
Yeah.
Been delayed. It was supposed to have been done over Christmas, and there's a wrap, for lack of a better description of the
the
boiler.
A jacket. I called it a skin.
Not a skin.
This is the jacket.
Yeah, the simplest part is the one that holds up the whole
Right,
process, so it's hopefully gonna be here in a couple weeks. Try to get this done by the end of the month. Old boiler still working good, knock on wood.
Compressor problems, but they worked through them. Bob is a miracle worker, basically. The other issue is the HVAC reporting that has to be done to DAS.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he has filled out all the checklists, checked them twice, and getting ready to send those off. There were some things that, like 134 units on the roof that had to be analyzed and tested or whatever. We're doing the best we can with the time and the equipment that we have and the expertise that we have, which is basically Bob. And we'll send off the report and see what happens. If they question any information that might be lacking or whatever, we'll certainly hear from it. But 169 towns sending off hundreds of schools of HVAC checklists. I doubt very much if we'll be hearing back for 2030.
You never know.
But you never know. No, but he should be a twin somewhere
He's
along.
grooming.
He's grooming someone. That's great.
He's seriously
He's second.
amazing. And he's done all the other things. I mean, he's done lighting at the middle school to make sure that the LED lighting is installed, and now this will allow the lights to go on and off as motion is detected in those hallways, which saves money.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, he is a miracle worker for sure. And then we had a big discussion about whether or not brownstone could be modified in a way to allow third and fourth grade students to spend some time on Main Street with hundreds of cars traveling to the Nordic Spa and a suitable drop off and pickup for parents and buses, and what that would look like. And
You're talking about the possibility of Brownstone as a swing school,
As a
if the
school, right.
referendum passes, what that might look like at this.
And that is, down the road. But I also suggested, and Kim also said, look at the modulars and find out if modulars would be less expensive in the long run. It would
making less of a
be a
modifications?
lot of changes. There would be a lot of modifications to that whole corner. Dave made a good suggestion about making it a one-way street at certain hours of the day to allow for buses and parents to come in and out. But we have a firehouse and we have a post office and we have traffic light. So it's complicated, but it was a very good meeting. It was very
I'd also
informative.
add in like fire drills that time.
Oh, where the fire
Sort of
department
thing.
goes out and.
Well,
talked
like
about
student
that.
fire drills
Oh, yeah.
and evacuation routes and stuff for third and fourth graders on Main Street.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So part of what you'll all be getting a lot of what we talked about when you get this book in the section of the book called the capital budget. Right. So part of my budget narrative will discuss recommendations for what happens and the consolidation and what we need to do, but we also have in there, it's the capital budget. So we talked about all of those things that we need to be doing to keep our current building serviceable, right? While we consider the potential costs for consolidation. So
We'll have a timing.
don't forget this before you go tonight, and there's a whole tab and a whole section there.
Well,
we
but if
should
they
always
just
just
met
comes out every-
today, is that reflected in here? Now, I have a timing question. If they just met about all that.
We did
today,
go over the capital budget and we went over some of the things that
we
are.
went over that in the meeting. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's crosswalk.
Yeah,
Okay.
and there'll be minutes posted because we are publicly, public meeting and people can attend to building maintenance, and their requirement posted. The tennis courts are also another issue that came up in the discussion. So there's a lot.
All right, well, thank you for the update. Anything else, from buildings and grounds? The education specification task force has not met since our last meeting, so there's no current update except that we intend to have a meeting hopefully in 2 weeks, and we'll have an update after. Craig liaison.
Greg did not meet in December. They are meeting again the third week in February, which is around the 19th.
Board of Selectmen.
You stole my thunder on the big one.
Oh, no.
The other thing was they reappointed a lot of boards and commissions. I know people don't realize that a lot of terms end at the end of the year. So people either decide they want to continue on, they have to be renominated, or if we get new people. So there's, they're all volunteers like us here. So they're always looking for people. So that was a big chunk of the meeting. And then they also talked about the water extension. We were supposed to have our own water supply, but our MDC contract expires this month. So we got a 3-year extension with them while we hope to complete our own water source within that time period. That's fine. Yeah.
Youth Services Advisory, believe it or
We're
not,
on
meeting.
pause.
we're on pause. Yep.
The meeting's on the 13th and Courtney's on the.
Portland Public Schools Climate Coalition.
We are next meeting February 10th, and we have not met since our last Board of Ed meeting.
Okay. And the Wellness Committee, you all did meet.
They met. I was ill.
For the wellness.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
that's
ironically,
right.
yeah,
Yeah.
but we are meeting again. Oh, I just had it up here on the 28th. Chuck sent out the next, so we've got one on the 28th and then another one on April 22nd.
Okay.
I did talk to him after, and he's still playing with in-person virtual, and so he decided to do in-person, and it was really only staff. And so he's gonna do a virtual option to get more, because there's like 30 people.
So there are parents who are interested in participating who can't participate. if it's
Yeah,
all
so
the
that was
in-person.
sent feedback back.
Yeah.
That's all.
Okay, no, that's great, and we'll look forward to hearing more in February.
Yes, yeah, it's the last Wednesday of this.
Great. I did want to add that Chuck has an artificial intelligence task force that's been studying artificial intelligence and what is going to be used in schools by teachers and parents. We have a meeting once a month. I missed the one in December, but there's 6 meetings coming up. No policy plans at this point, just getting teachers on board to use certain programs and pieces of software. Students still, and they may be being introduced, but it's a slow roll, so.
Which we funded initially with the Literacy Wheeler grant.
This is the
We are
second
still
year.
funding.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been a very good process. It's been very information gathering and sharing, and then and they did come up with a statement. I think they're still working on that. But I'm impressed with that. I served on a panel discussion through Southern Connecticut State with two professors who were doing some studies about AI in schools and Board of Educations, what Board of Education members knew and what schools were doing. And there will be a follow-up. So if anybody wants to be involved in that conversation, we can make sure that you can participate. And I did share the white paper that was written from the initial panel discussion we participated in. It was really fascinating to see, and it's ever changing. It's a environment that has not been static at all. It just keeps changing with new stuff. So, yeah.
Okay.
You're welcome.
I think that concludes our committee reports. We're gonna move to Board of Ed member comments. I'm gonna start here with our student members. Start on this end.
Hold on, audience of.
Oh, did I miss audiences? Gosh, it's so tiny at the bottom. Thank you for catching me. It's like in the margins there. That's funny. Audience of citizens.
Responded to our message online.
Okay. Thank you for asking and thank you for catching me. So now we will move to our Board of Ed member comment, and I'm gonna start with Anna. Did you want to make a comment? You had your. Hop up there. We want to hear from you. No? All right.
Just wanted to say congratulations to Mr. Murphy to hear about his retirement. We're all gonna miss him, definitely. And it's great to hear about the Owlet Nest being up and running. I think that's very awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. Liam?
Yeah, firstly, I would like to offer my greatest congratulations to Mr. Murphy and his retirement. Cross country under him has truly been one of the greatest experiences, not just in my high school career, but as my career in Portland as a whole. And under him, he definitely is a great program. Personally, I've never had him as a teacher, but under his leadership through coaching, I can tell that he puts a lot of effort towards the students and he really cares about this. So thank you to him for gotta be a lot of years of service, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
For superintendents, I think we would sit in his letter.
Yeah, then Owlet Nest, again, great to hear that's up and running. Student council, that was a great presentation they put on, and I hope maybe some of them will be here in a few years' time.
Coming.
Then what was the last thing? I think that's all. Oh, my greatest apologies to the class of 2026. I completely forgot to mention our Pizza Wars fundraiser that we.
Yeah. How was it? I heard it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, unfortunately, I was ill when it ran, but I heard it went really well and we were able to raise quite a bit of funds. Tommy's Pizza ended up taking the trophy. I can't remember the runners-up off the top of my head, but I'm sure I can.
Slice Works with the runner-up.
Slice Works.
And. No, it's this way.
Yeah, this is right.
And it raised $2,000.
Almost.
Yeah.
Wow.
Amazing. Yeah, that's like a very successful fundraiser. I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you. Thanks, Liam.
Forgot it twice.
Annie, I'm just gonna echo, I thought the student council presentation was really nice, and I'm curious to see how their student night out goes. Yeah. As middle schoolers.
That is, it's, I would
so
say it's in lieu of a dance. It's
Yeah.
formerly a middle school
Very
dance. They've
fun.
opted to do like a night out instead of the dance. And I've heard both some in favor and some against
so
conversation
rewarding.
about that. But I bet it's gonna be great.
Yeah. Yeah, congratulations to Isha. Definitely a unique individual and I've enjoyed getting to know him. He will be missed for sure. And then I want to say thank you to Charles and I'm guessing Trish for writing up this letter. I think this is super important that we convey and that we do stick to our commitment of speaking out more. So I was glad to see that letter. So thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Kim.
I will add the same to Isha for retirement, wish him well, and he will certainly be missed. I'd like to see our president of the middle school, student senate come back and give a report once in a while in the next couple of months. I think he's very well spoken and very organized, and I see a bright future at the high school for him next year. So, yeah. And thank you for a new year to begin and more work, and we'll just move forward. Advocacy for sure. We're gonna need all of it.
Yep, agreed.
Just, thanks to the student council. I mean, one thing I thought of when they were standing there is that they tell you that public speaking is one of the most critical things you can learn and the most difficult that you want to do. So I commend them for just getting up there and doing it. So, and the second thing is I've made it my mission to try to find us a bus lot. So
Yes.
I actually have another suggestion that I'm not going to mention, that I've already mentioned to Michael Pelton. He's going to vet it and he thinks it might be viable, but I'm not going to say. So
Okay, fingers crossed.
Good.
that's my mission. I take the dog in the car and we drive around town.
Love it.
That's retirement, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's great.
I love it. Cool.
Any chance Mike will have some feedback for us before our meeting tomorrow?
I don't think so.
It didn't hurt to ask.
But I commend that mission.
Yes, that's great.
In addition to all of the appreciations people have shared, I share those. And I was remiss in not mentioning that Chuck sent out the school climate improvement plans. So those were due out by the end of last calendar year. And you should have gotten an email with a link to view those. But for anybody who didn't get that, you can find them on the Portland Public Schools website under district and then climate. And on the right-hand side, PPS School Climate Improvement Plans 2025, 2026 are there. So those are listed by school, and I encourage you, for board members, it'll look familiar because it's similar to the climate culture piece of the school's annual goals. But for anybody else who wants to see what the schools are working on this year, that's where to find it.
That's great. Thanks for mentioning that, Sarah. That did come out by email, Erin, but it was in the week between Christmas and New Year's. And so a lot of folks maybe weren't
December 30th.
tuned in.
We may not be on his. Yeah, I'm not. I did not get that.
Well, you know what? That's good to know because I think it went out to the Board of Ed, the general Board of Ed listserv. So let's make sure that that's been updated.
Be a parent square.
Be a parent square, but there's like a Board of Ed list that if that list hasn't been updated with our newest members, let's confirm that.
And also,
Because other staff use that as well.
Annie might have to be added to the newsletter. I think it's all the newsletters that come out from the different schools, because you don't have kids in school yet. I didn't, and I didn't get any for a whole year.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't
No, I
realize
haven't
that
gotten
it wasn't on that list.
Okay.
So, yeah, we gotta make.
Yeah, I'll go find it on the website, but I just didn't get.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you mentioned that.
And then we also should make sure that everybody on the board now is on the K email distribution list for anything that is being sent out as reminders.
I got a test thing this morning.
Yeah, we need to make sure.
Yeah, I get something.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so you're on top of
I
that.
know I get
Thank you.
article every month, you know.
Okay, thank you, Erin and Annie for bringing that up. We'll make sure that you are on that list. Erin.
My turn, okay. Thank you, Mr. Murphy. Thank you, Bob, for the boilers. Thank you for the bus waivers. Thank you, student council. Thank you for the letter. And thank you, Sarah, for staying. And John too.
I would echo all of that. And my only comment is that I misspoke. I think when you asked the question about this Connecticut Museum of Culture and History, I was conflating a 4th grade field trip and a 2nd grade field trip I went on last year. I'm pretty sure it was the 2nd grade last year. I am confident it's Gildersleeve class. And I just didn't want to misspeak. The 2nd grade teachers last year put together a really phenomenal field trip. I think that's the one that it was. So just to clarify. I don't think I have anything else. We do not have a need for an executive session tonight, so I would be looking for a motion to adjourn. Motion. Thank you, Meg. Seconded by Annie. All in favor?
Aye.
Everyone have a good evening and go home safely.
And
Thank
budget
you so
books, budget
And
books.
grab your budget book.
Budget.